Sir, how many participants did? Sir, how many
Shankar sir.
Hello, madam.
Sir, principal sir is not yet joined. Sir joined.
Joined?
That's what, sir. I was not able to see him. That's why I'm taking it out.
No, madam. He hasn't joined yet.
Shankar sir. Yes, yes, sir.
Hello, madam.
Sir, principal sir is not yet joined. Sir joined.
Joined?
That's
No,
what, sir.
not yet.
See him. That's why I'm taking it out.
Open ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ? Okay, I will just tell him. ಇದು ಮುಸ್ತಾಕ್ ಸರ್ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಓಪನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಈಗ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
No, madam. He hasn't joined yet.
Shankar sir.
ಇಲ್ಲ
Yes,
ಇಲ್ಲ
yes,
ಬಂತು
sir.
ಬಿಡಿ
Hello, madam.
ಬಂತು
Yes, sir.
ಬಂತಾ
Principal sir is not yet joined.
ನೋಡಿ
Sir
It
joined.
has come ಅಲ್ಲ? Yes, sir. ಬಂತು. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, I will just tell him. ಇದು ಮುಸ್ತಾಕ್ ಸರ್.
Happy Teachers Day to all of you, sir.
Happy Teachers
Thank
Day.
you, madam. Same to you.
Thank you, sir.
Could you help
He hasn't
to
joined.
introduce our Dr. A.J. Natharaj, Dr. Chandrasekhar.
ನೋಡಿ
It has come ಅಲ್ಲ? Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Some sound is coming.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, I will just tell him. ಇದು ಮುಸ್ತಾಕ್ ಸರ್.
Happy Teachers Day to all of you, sir.
Happy Teachers Day.
ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಡೇ
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Could you help
He hasn't
to
joined.
introduce our Dr. A.J. Natharaj, Dr. Chandrasekhar.
ನೋಡಿ
It has come ಅಲ್ಲ? Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Some sound is coming.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, I will just tell him. ಇದು ಮುಸ್ತಾಕ್ ಸರ್.
Happy Teachers Day to all of you, sir.
Happy Teachers Day.
ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಡೇ
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
He hasn't introduce our Dr. A.J. Natharaj,
ವೈ ದಿಸ್ ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್
Dr. Chandrasekhar.
ನೋಡಿ
It has
ನಮಸ್ತೆ ಸರ್
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Nice to see you, sir. Shashankar Bada ಹೇಳ್ತಾ
Very
ಇದ್ರು.
nice of you to have called me. Thanks for giving an opportunity.
We are privileged to have you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir, that too, I mean, on an auspicious day of Teachers' Day, we are meeting. It's very nice.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. Sir, you have been in Bangalore for a long time?
36 years.
Oh, okay. That's pretty long.
He was former principal of Bangalore Institute of Technology.
Okay, BIT. Yeah.
And Dr. Chandrasekhar Shastri was with BMS Engineering College, sir. You might have seen him there.
When, sir?
From 96 to 2000, I was with BMS. And then 2000, I went to Infosys. And then from 16 onwards, I'm with Jane.
Good, sir. Nice. Some of my friends were there. I used to come there by 88, 89, 90, 92. Some of the friends were in civil engineering department.
Okay.
Even the present principal, Ravi Shankar,
Ravi Shankar, yeah.
all were there. I used to come there.
Yes.
Then
I
slowly
was a student then at BMS College. I'm
Very
65 born, and then from 83 to 87, I was engineering student there. Then went to IISc for my master's and PhD. And then again came back to BMS as professor head at electronics department, electronics and communication. Then went off to Infosys in 2000. So two and a half years I was in Boston after joining Infosys. And then later on, I was in Bangalore and moving around many places.
Mustaq, sir,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
shall we start the video?
Yeah, ma'am,
Participants
sure.
are joining. Yes?
Okay. Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Yeah. A very good afternoon to all the teachers attending this webinar. Myself, Dr. Venkatlakshmi, HOD Chemistry, Dean Basic Science, gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all on behalf of the management, principal, and faculty of AMC Engineering College. Happy Teachers' Day wishes to all of you. Before we are starting the webinar on National Educational Policy 2020, emphasizing the changing role of teachers in the backdrop of NEP 2020. As our Honorable Prime Minister rightly said, when a teacher learns, a nation leads. As we are celebrating the birthday of Bharat Ratna Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan as Teachers' Day, we will recall about Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan was born on 5th September 1888. He was an Indian philosopher, academician, and statesman. He served as the first Vice President of India from 1952 to 1962, and he was the second President of India from 1962 to 1967. Radhakrishna, after completing his education at Madras Christian College in 1911, he became the assistant professor and later professor of philosophy at Madras Presidency College and subsequently professor of philosophy at the University of Mysore. He was the first Indian to hold a professional chair at the University of Oxford. He was appointed lecturer at Manchester College, Oxford, from 1926 to 1930. In 1930, he was appointed as Haskell Lecturer in Comparative Religion at the University of Chicago. He was honored with many awards. Radhakrishnan was awarded several high awards during his life, including a knighthood in 1931, the Bharat Ratna, the highest civilian award in India in 1954, and honorary membership of the British Royal Archive of Merit in 1963. He was also one of the founder of Helpage India, non-profit organization for elderly unprivileged people of India. Sarvepalli believed that teachers should be the minds of the country. Since 1962, his birthday has been celebrated in India as Teachers' Day on 5th September every year. On this behalf, in this regard, we at AMCEC celebrating Teachers' Day. Now, I request our beloved principal, Dr. A.G. Nataraj sir, to give welcome address.
ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆಯ ಶುಭಾಶಯಗಳು. Good afternoon to one and all who are participating in this webinar organized by Department of Civil Engineering of AMC Engineering College. I'm very proud to say that this is the 25th webinar that is being organized by our college during this COVID period. I profoundly thank and welcome Dr. Chandrasekhar Shastri for accepting our invitation to the chief speaker in today's webinar. Welcome you, sir, and thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I also congratulate our Dr. Shankar and his team for organizing this webinar. With the permission of the chief guest, I will just take 2 minutes to explain about my institution. Our institution was started in the year 1999, and we have completed 21 years of our journey, and we are stepping into 22nd year of our progress. Our institution was started by our chairman, Dr. K.R. Paramahamsa, under Paramahamsa Foundation Trust, and vice chairman person, Srimati Geeta Paramahamsa, and Miss Monica Kalluri, vice president of Paramahamsa Foundation Trust, and Mr. Rahul Kalluri, executive vice president of Paramahamsa Foundation Trust. Our institution is spread over 52 acres of lush green area in near Bannerghatta National Park. Our intake is 1020 in undergraduation and around 350 in post-graduation. So total around 5,000 students will be in the campus during the peak hours. And our institution has got very good infrastructure and highly qualified and committed faculty imparting quality technical education. At present, the college offers courses leading to BE degree in 7 disciplines: computer science and engineering, information sciences and engineering, electronics and communication engineering, information sciences and engineering, electrical and electronics engineering, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, and mechatronics engineering. From this particular year, we are starting 2 new more courses, one in artificial intelligence and machine learning, and another one is aeronautical engineering, which both are most started in the field of engineering. We have 6 PG courses in engineering and MCA and MBA also in our list. We have a very good infrastructure. We have a fantastic library, which is having around 80,000 volumes and 20,000 titles. We have e-consortium e-journals. Tens and thousands of e-journals are there in our library. The specialty is our college is accredited by NAC for 2 times, and this time from 2016 to 2021. And it has been accredited by National Board of Accreditation. The college obtained permanent affiliation from VTU, has received 2F certification from UGC New Delhi. We have received more than 52 ranks from VTU in our kitty. We have around more than 7 patents in our kitty, and our students are getting ranks and doing good job also. One of the best things about our faculty is we have around published nearly 1,000 papers in national and international papers in the past 3 years, and around more than 350 in this 2019-20. We are doing a good job, and all our students are spread over our globe. They are also happy. Hundreds of placement activities are also taking place. Activities, cultural, all activities are here. It is a hub, we can say. The students are very happy. The management is really working hard to take this to the next higher steps, so that we are going to see the university status in the coming year. We can do all these things just because of our management support and the support of the heads of the department and all teachers and all well-wishers, and also the invitees who comes and gives their valuable suggestions, their speeches, everything to our requests. I really once again thank Dr. Chandrasekhar Shastri for accepting our invitation, and this webinar will be one of the best during this COVID. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Now I'm requesting Shankar sir to introduce the guest speaker and start the session, sir. Shankar sir.
It really gives me a great pleasure to, first of all, just to tell a few words about our civil engineering department. We just was started in 2013, and we are the youngest department in AMC Engineering College, started by our beloved chairman, Dr. K.R. Paramahamsa. We have been equipped with the latest equipments like R1500 Pentax 6 stations, and also we have been conducting international conferences, one at Tata Institute, that is SWEM, and also we have conducted one Indo-US workshop this year. That is really a prestigious one on hazardous materials management. Every year we are conducting one national seminar for research scholars, where a lot of encouragement is given to the research scholars of India. And particularly, we have been allotted a research center this time, and 5 of our research scholars will be working under the new research center at AMC Engineering College. And we have around 44 citations in the past 2 years, and Scopus Index journals, Elsevier. And now it is time for me to introduce Dr. Chandrasekhar Shastri. it is really a providence, sir, that we met upon you. And Dr. Chandrasekhar Shastri Beguru is currently Dean and PG Studies at SCT Jain University. Born 1965, he acquired his BE in electronics from the prestigious BMS Engineering College during 83-87. And thereafter, he went on to study Masters in Engineering in Electronics from Indian Institute of Science. Thereafter, he continued to acquire his PhD degree from the same institute, that is Indian Institute of Science, in the branch of electronics. He proceeded to get his doctoral degree in fiber optic communications, and he was appointed as lecturer and then associate professor. We call it assistant professor at the time, and professor and HOD of electronics at the prestigious BMS Engineering College, both day and evening college. And he was the chairman of the board of studies and board of exams also of both BU and VTU. And he moved from the academics to corporate, that is Infosys Technologies. And he worked as software engineer from 2000 to 2016 in various capacities as a software engineer, module leader, project manager, senior project manager, head for education and research in telecom software, etc., is equal to the vice president of Infosys. And his clients included Lucent, Cisco, Nortel, Alcatel, British Telecom, and Telstra, spanning around the globe. And he has traveled widely to present technical papers in conferences, and he has published in various international journals of repute. And his journey all along has been really good with the great perks and great hikes. And he is obviously a great trekker of high altitudes, not only in his life, but in real-time sports. And he goes snorkeling and also make friends with one and all. And to be very frank, I met upon a truth that we met in Shankarmat once upon a time, I can say,
Oh,
when Eric Claude, the Nobel laureate, had come. And
yes.
when he just presented a paper at a conference, a very special conference attended by George Sudarshan from Texas University, and also Eric Lord and Madam Eric Lord, both Nobel laureates in physics and sixth perception, and Dr. Shankar, who is called Paramananda Bharati Swamiji, thereafter, and is the special Einsteinian special theory of relativity expert, and C.N.R. Rao. So he is of that caliber, and when he just presented his paper, correct, I was there. And it is real proud and sir that we met upon you again today on this holy day of 5th September. And that shows your mettle, sir. And you may be surprised that from sports to electronics, he is from Vedas. He's a scholar in Vedas. And when he was in US, when Yagnik could not come, and in fact, Dr. Chandrasekhar Shastri went on to perform the yagna, and therefore he is coming from the family of the Yagniks. And it is really providence, sir, that we are going to be having you here on 5th September on Teachers' Day. So both our students and our faculties and all other college faculties are also really blessed today to have your lecture, that is on New Education Policy 2020. And Go Autonomous is the mantra for all colleges in 2020 NEP. So please note that this being the mantra, I hand over the mic to Dr. Chandrasekhar Shastri. Please continue, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'll start sharing my screen.
Yes.
Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Sir, come
very
from
last-
PPT mode to slideshow, sir.
PPTs are visible?
Yeah,
Yes,
PPT
yes.
is visible. Make it a complete slide, sir.
Okay.
Screen complete.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Now it's okay.
Now it's okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
That? Okay. Thank you very much. Happy Teachers' Day to one and all.
Thank you.
And yeah, I mean, on this occasion, you have invited me. I'm very happy about it. So Professor Shashi Shankar has already introduced me, so I don't have to say much about it. Yeah, right now I am Dean for PG Studies in Jain, deemed to be university. So today I'm giving a session on the new education policy or the national education policy, what Dr. Kasturi Rangan called. So we will go initially to the introduction. In today's agenda, I'm going to give you the introduction, and then we are going to look into the history part, the vision and highlights in the NEP 2020. And in that, actually, it starts with school education. Yes, it doesn't add much to the higher education, but initially it starts with the school education and then the expected outcomes in the school education. Why am I stressing this? Because we are all technocrats. And then now if you look at the job opportunities in the education sector, it could be in a school or it could be in a college, what we call. We have a lot of opportunities. And these opportunities is what I'm trying to stress for all the technocrats. And then obviously we have major reforms in the higher education. What is called as higher education here is after the PUC or after the 12th class, they have mentioned that as higher education. So that encompasses all our BTech, MTech, and PhD. So that being the case, here we will have to look at what major reforms are there in the higher education, and then how actually this opens up for the global educational trends for engineers is very major thing which I am going to discuss here. And then obviously conclusion, we will see what exactly I mean by the conclusion. So basically, when it comes to education, our Taittiriya Aranyakas define education as Acharya Purvarupam, Antevasyuttara Rupam, Vidya Sandhihi, Pravachanagum Sandhanam, Ityadi Vidyam. So what does it mean? This they have thought of about 4,000 or 5,000 years back. Let us not contemplate on the date, but it has been thought much before the Europe or the US today came into existence, right? So existence is what I'm stressing, because people were nomads and people were hunters before even AD 10, right? So like that, this is much earlier. Before Christ, this was proposed. There are two parts to education. The first part is the students, and the second part is the teachers. But actually, in the Vedas, it says Acharya Purvarupam. So first is the Acharya, and then Antevas Yuttara Rupam. That is the other end of education is the students. What is the difference between the two? It is the amount of knowledge, what is there in the Acharya or the teacher and the student. So how do you equate that? Through pravachanagum or through teaching. So what we call teaching, okay? So we teach and then the students come up to the level of the teacher and they even excel us. This thought has been said about 4,000 years back. That is why, actually, if you look into the teacher, they have been ordained as even gods. So they say, Matru Devo Bhava. So, yes, mother who gives birth to the child, she is the first god. She is the first god the child sees. And then, obviously, Pitru Devo Bhava. So, the father who actually educates the child, gives food, and actually, yeah, he brings up the child. So for everything, father is responsible. And next, they have given the godly status to the teachers, Acharya Devo Bhava. So this is the kind what our scriptures have done. And this is what education means. In the education, without a teacher and without student, there is no education and there is no educational institution. So if you actually look into the education policy around the globe, they say in the first 1 year, you have to actually develop skills of a baby for hearing. And then next comes the speaking skills. And then comes something like when you look at 5 years or 6 years, it actually emerges to something like self-learning, and then the sports, arts, everything starts. And from the age of 6, obviously we know that we are going to start the school education. So this was envisaged very when we got our independence. And Professor S. Radhakrishnan actually had a lot of ideas on education. And then the University Education Commission was set up in 1948-49. So India is not back in the education sector. So Secondary Education Commission was set up in 52-53. And then the regular Education Commission was in 64 to 66. And that was the time period when Professor Radhakrishnan was also heading. He was at the helm of the affairs. And Dr. D.S. Kothari was the one who proposed that. And then came the NEP, those days, National Policy on Education. It was also called the NPE, right? So NPE again got revised in 1986. And then it got modified in 1992. Now, actually, TSR Subramaniam submitted a very recent amendment on NPE, right? And if you look at 2019, that is when our new education policy came in. That is when we started ushering the new education policy. It was submitted to the government on 31st May 2019 by Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan, but that got passed in the parliament, in the government only in 2020. So basically, everything, the text, what you see in the NEP is was actually submitted to the government on 31st May 2019. So I would like to say here that the Kasturi Rangan's committee, which also comprised of Dr. and Professor M.K. Sridhar, they used to come to Jain University very often. And our Pro-Vice Chancellor Sandeep Shastri has participated in the new education policy. And several discussions did happen in the Jain University with respect to NEP. Now, with respect to the vision of NEP, we cannot mingle any words here. I do have to actually read out what exactly is the vision of NEP. So here, I'm not putting my words. It is the one which is put in the document. So it basically develops a deep sense of respect towards the fundamental rights, duties, and constitutional values, bonding with one's country, and conscious awareness of one's role and responsibilities in a changing world. So this is the first vision what is kept for NEP. And as education system that contributes to an equitable, vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all. Let us take the example of Kerala here. People here are, we know that the number of people who are educated are close to 90% or much more than that. Everybody in the state is educated. Similarly, even in Karnataka, we don't fall behind. people are educated so that vibrant knowledge in the society will take us forward. It will actually provide high quality education to all. Once the primary education is there, people can actually get into higher education at any time at a later stage. Basically, the third vision is it installs skills, values, dispositions that support responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development and living, and global well-being, thereby reflecting a truly global citizen. Yes, about 30 years back, 40 years back, people were citizens of a country. But today that is not the case. If you just look into many of my classmates who did engineering, who did their engineering at the mid 80s and much before that, many of them migrated to America and also Europe. So you see that now they are global citizens. Many of them even have dual citizenships. It is not only that, but if you look into Germans, if you look into Dutch, all of them have migrated to different lands. It is not like 30 or 40 years back where people migrating to another country was very less. In your case, as students, there is a very bright chance that in the next 4 or 5 years, you will be in a foreign land studying, and then you will be a global citizen, not just a citizen of India. So basically, in the NEP policy, what was taught was if our students have to become global citizens, then what should be the kind of teaching? What should be the thing when they are schooling, when they are here doing their basic education? What should be emphasized and what are the highlights? So emphasis on foundational literacy and numeracy. So what do we mean by literacy? All of you know it is called akshara jnana in Kannada, right? So numeracy, it is basically understanding the games of numbers. Here we have to recollect that we did have a lot of good mathematicians. It could be Ramanujam, it could be various others. Shakuntala Devi, you know, right? So she could actually beat the computers. So that is because of numeracy at a very young age. At a very young age in India, but especially if you look into Chinese, they have something called abacus. And they may not know English, but they are very good at math. I have seen many students. In fact, I was a guest faculty for a semester in the University of Wyoming. So I used to have Chinese students, and they were very good at math. They were very good at math analysis, but expression in English was very bad. They used to have a dictionary in their hands, and they used to actually look for a Chinese equivalent word. In when we say something in English, they would just rip up open the dictionary, and then they would just see what it means in the Mandarin Chinese. So today it is not so. They are educated, and after 2008 you see a big jump of Chinese. Okay, they are educated in English. Here literacy, that's why I stressed on English. But again, VTU has also come out that Kannada education should also be there in engineering. Yes, very true, I agree. But here again, we have to have the regional educations, that is in the mother tongue, and then numeracy, the numericals, and playing with numbers, that is something really great. And that has, the emphasis has been laid on mathematics and languages, basically in the school education. No rigid separation between academic streams and no rigid separation between academic streams, extracurricular, occasional streams in schools, occasional education to start from class 6 with internships. See, this is something great. Actually, a person could be studying music, a person could be studying dance, or a person could train himself or herself in sports. When we look at the Olympics and other Asiatic events, in sports, you see a lot of Chinese, a lot of Japanese, small kids, 10 years, 12 years, and by 16th or 18th year, their body is so flexible that they can do any kind of sport event. Okay, so they are trying to mimic that in this education policy as well, right? So if a person does something extracurricular, that person is encouraged. And then start from the class 6 with internships. Here, last November, we had the Israel embassy head coming to our university. I was just asking her, I was amazed to see basically the cyber security part. The people in Israel are very few in number. It is like our small state in India, and the number of people are also very less. But if you look into the patents and if you look into the awards, what are there, and the algorithms in cyber security, it is very much, basically, I mean, it actually comes to about 86% of the algorithms. The people in Israel are the ones who have designed that. Okay, I was just asking how is this possible? So yes, I mean, she was saying that they are surrounded by enemies and they look at security right from the beginning. And even in the school education, they inculcate something on security. Security today also means security with respect to data, with respect to computers. In 8th class, they start with cyber security. So you know that by the time students complete their graduation, they already have patents. They can think about algorithms which are really, really good and then up to the mark, which is up to the international standards. It is not US, it is not UK, which does really good in cybersecurity, but it is Israel. All right. So assessment reforms with the 360 holistic progress card, tracking student progress for achieving learning outcomes, this will come over. It is not like the school marks card, what I had or people of my age had. Yes, English, Kannada, Sanskrit, and then mathematics, social studies, and then general science. No, this will not be the case. It will contain something like sports, music, art, everything, everything. It will be something like a 360-degree holistic progress card. What you see in US and what you see in UK, it will be similar to this. And what?
എന്തോ അത് ചെയ്യാനൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞു പിന്നെ പഠിക്കാൻ മാത്സ് ചെയ്യാം.
Yeah.
For 2 hours.
There is some crosstalk, please. Can you mute your system? Yeah. The current system. Can you mute? Can you mute? There is a crosstalk. The current system has the 10+2 system. You are all aware. PU1, PU2, or 11th and 12th, as they call in CBSE. But that will be replaced by something like 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, which means to say the primary education will be up to 5, and then next will be the middle school, the high school for 3 years, and then 4, something very similar to RPU. So what happens to the age groups from 3 to 8? So starting from something like the UKG or LKG or the pre-nursery, nursery, it starts from the 3rd year. 3 to 8 is first group. Second is 8 to 11, 11 to 14, and 14 to 18. That is when they will come into engineering. So that is where engineering is called higher education. It is no more. It is not a primary education or a school education. So people will come into higher education, and that is when we start having our students. So again, the disposition, like what I explained to you in the earlier slide, is shown as the primary, and then the secondary stage, the middle stage, the preparatory stage, the fundamental stage, etc. So starting from the fundamental stage, it is the fundamental, preparatory, middle, and secondary. So secondary actually will now be equivalent to something like our first and second PUC, which is combined with 9th and 10th. So 4 years, what they spend there is 9, 10, 11th, and 12th. Okay. So our SSLC will get merged into this. So it will start from 9, and then SSLC, PUC will all be merged together. All right. So this is what happens in the new education policy. Apart from that, we may not do anything with the school education. At least I am not bringing them into my discussion. All right. So we are interested in the higher education. We will just discuss a few salient points of school education, because if you look into the document, the 66-page document PDF, what has been released by our government of India, in that 34 pages or 35 pages is dedicated to the basic education. Only then higher education comes in. That's the reason why I had to take it up. Without speaking about the school education, my lecture on NEP will not be complete. That's the reason why I'm just touching this part. So universal access, yes. So it should be accessible to a person in Nagaland. It should be accessible to a person in Nagpur, and it should be accessible to a person in Nanjangud. Okay, it should be the same everywhere. All right. Ensure equity and inclusion. Attain SDG goals of retaining all children in schools until the completion of secondary education. Here, secondary education means first PUC and second PUC as well. Okay, so the primary education, the basic education is still secondary education, which is up to 12th standard. Improve quality and achievement of learning outcomes. Foundational literacy and numeracy, that is stressed in all the education up to secondary, which means to say even up to PUC, the literacy and numeracy is stressed. And comes the focus on 21st century skills in teaching, learning, and assessment. It is not the same blackboard kind of teaching. So even in schools, we do have online exercises, online exams. Everything will come into the schools. And then resource sharing will also be there, and the school complexes will also be shared by maybe the government authorities and the private authorities. Overcoming the language barrier in learning. Yes, today we have the software. If I'm speaking in English, the same thing will be translated to Japanese, or it will be translated to German. We have the software package for that, right? So like that, the language barrier will not be there. If a person has delivered a lecture, when it has to be taken to different states, if somebody wants that education in Oriya, somebody wants to have education in Bengali, or if they want to have it in Telugu, they can have all of that. Language will not be a barrier at all with all the technology coming in. Common standards for public and private school education. So this is what is aimed at in the new education policy, right? So now is something very, very important. Yes, we are all engineers or budding engineers. So you will all be engineers in the maximum next 3 years or 4 years. That being the case, job opportunities to technocrats in the education field opens up. That is why I wanted to put up this slide. I wanted to stress that the use of technology in education planning. So it is something like the corporate where we used to plan the projects. Yes, now it will come to education as well. So you have seen that the outcomes of each of the domain and each of the subject is given. Okay, so the prelims are defined. Everything is something like the project plan in a corporate. I'm very happy about it because I see many of the NAC and other accredited colleges, they follow very similar to something like what we follow in corporate. That's something really great. Teaching, learning, and assessment has all moved, has all taken a further step. Basically, just imagine yourselves as teachers about 5 years back. What kind of teaching you were doing, what kind of assessment you were doing. Now there is a way change. And administration and management, yes, this again becomes more and more critical, and this will be open to even students as well. They know what kind of administration happens in every college and how the management is. It is no more a thing which is done at closed doors or curtains, but it is something very, very transparent. And that is what brings, for that, they bring in a lot of regulations. So self-disclosure is what I was saying. So the administration and management, they disclose everything. So that is self-disclosure. There is no inside curtain practices. So everything is transparent and minimum human interface. Yes, the only, I mean, I see much of that in the US universities and in the UK, European universities, where minimum human interface used to be there. But now that is going to set in with the NEP here in India as well. And increasing the access for the disadvantaged groups. So basically, if you look at something like Swayam, NPTEL, etc., this was actually given by the present government in 2017, August. Swayam was inaugurated. Today, any student in India, as I was saying, that student can be in the remote corner of Bihar, okay? A person can be in Belgaum, or a person can be in Bidar, anywhere in the world, okay? Anywhere in India, they can access Swayam. So there is nothing called the disadvantaged group. So a person, for example, being in Bidar, if he had to meet somebody at Indian Institute of Science or somebody at IIM, so he had to travel 2 ways, 3 days, 1.5 days, one-way travel. Okay, and then to meet that professor should be free to discuss all of that. But today, you can actually write an email to the professor, and then you can fix up a time. You can have a Zoom meeting. You can ask your doubts, and the professor can answer that. And everything happens, what? Not even a few minutes. Okay, so this is how we have progressed, and this is how the disadvantaged groups are coming down. So Divyang friendly education software, that is one other software. E-content in regional languages. Yes, in regional languages, even if you study Kannada here in Karnataka, it's okay. Engineering, whether it is civil engineering, mechanical engineering, or electrical engineering, you don't have to do the translation. So the documentation can be in English, right? So the students can actually experience that in their own native languages. That is the kind of software what we have today. And obviously with the COVID and with all these confinements, we have started virtual labs. You have started experiencing that. That is also in the policy, and this actually opens up for many technocrats. It is just not the engineering, but even diploma holders. They will be able to record labs, and they will be able to conduct experiments, and this will be taken in the global fashion. Today I was really excited to see your lab infrastructure. So this infrastructure will not be limited to just to you, okay? People around the globe, people around India can be actually experiencing these labs. People in Sri Lanka, people in Nigeria, people in Kenya, okay? So they might start experiencing, and that happens in the next 4 or 5 years, okay? Virtual labs are created. That actually opens up for something called as the National Educational Technology Forum, NETF. You have to remember this. This is a product of NEP, and this is a major thing, which is actually will be equivalent to our AICTE. Okay, not just the UGC, but it is it will be equivalent to AICTE. They have said that beyond next 5 years, the UGC, AICTE are not going to exist, but NETF is going to come into existence, and that is where we ascribe our engineering education into. All right. So digitally equipping the schools, teachers, and students. This is where enormous opportunities are there. Just imagine the number of schools in the country. Now everybody wants an internet connectivity, and everybody wants to be on the net. So look at how many jobs will be opened for the technocrats. This is what I wanted to stress here. It's open for not just the computer engineers, electronic engineers, also for the civil engineers, mechanical engineers. They have to start integrating the electronic, they have to start integrating the software. So I mean, I'm very happy that you have opened the branch of mechatronics. So in mechatronics, basically, people will be studying both electronics and mechanical. I'm very happy you are moving in that direction, and you will have more number of students in that particular domain. So what are the major reforms in higher education? 50% of the gross enrollment ratio should be there by 2035. As on today, what has happened is you don't see much, you don't see many people enrolling for higher education. Higher education, what I was saying was something like BTech or LLB or medicine, MBBS, etc. These are all classed under higher education. So now we don't even have 20 to 30% of the people getting into this kind of higher education, but they have kept a limit that in next 15 years, we should have a gross enrollment of 50%. So just imagine how many more engineering colleges are going to come up, how many more medical colleges, and how many more institutions or colleges teaching law and other higher education aspects. It's something great, great. Okay, we will have more number of colleges, more number of job opportunities. In this, they have actually given holistic and multidisciplinary education. There is flexibility of subjects. So another aspect is multiple entry and exit. Already a person, compulsory education, he or she would have spent 12 years. After that, there is something called a UG program where they can exit at the third year, which means to say, it is something at the level of diploma in engineering. Okay, they will not be getting many aspects in the UG program. Only if they complete 4 years, then it will be 4 years for commerce, 4 years for management. There will be nothing called BCom, BBM, etc., BBA, which is all 3 years. It will all be 4 years now. If they want, they can exit at the third year, but only when they complete the 4th year, they can enter the PG program. Otherwise, they cannot. If they have completed 3 years, they cannot enter any PG program. But at a later date, any time during their lifetime, they can actually come back to UG program where they will finish only the last 1 year. If they have completed the 3 years and they have the certificate, they will complete only 1 more year and then enter into the PG program. And then in PG program, again, we have 1 or 2 years. This is very similar to the system what we have in US. In US, we have 2 things in MS. One is the thesis option. The other one is non-thesis option. If a person actually does non-thesis option, he will credit courses and he will finish the number of credits, but he will not be eligible for PhD. He cannot enter into PhD. Okay, only if a person completes MS program with thesis option, then the person will get into the PhD program. So here, very similar to that, it has been brought in NEP, and the one more integrated 5-year bachelor master's course. If you actually look into it, it is 4+2, UG plus PG. Instead of that, an abridged one, it is called as the integrated course, which will be for 5 years, and the university is entitled to give bachelor's and master degree certificates if the student finishes the integrated program in 5 years. And MPhil, what was existing till now, will be discontinued. It will not be there hereafter. All right. So again, as I was telling you, credit transfer, we are slowly getting used to credits in our system from last 4 or 5 years now. But it was there at IISc. Even when I was doing my education at IISc, we did have the credit systems. And then we have something called the academic bank of credits will be created nationwide. And the record of a particular student, how much he or she had completed in bachelor's, how much they had done in master's, how much did they do in PhD, all of that will be recorded and it will be kept at the national level. So this is where we are speaking about the HEIs. They are called higher education institutes, where something like the Indian Institute of Science or the IITs, they want to bring them to this category, or it could be even our NITs, where it is research. The research is intensive, and teaching intensive universities and autonomous degree granting colleges will also come under this. And we will have something like, instead of UGC, I'm not saying it's the same wine in the, I mean, what? Yeah, I mean, the new bottle. No, it is not the same old wine in the new bottle, but Meru, which is also called the Model Multidisciplinary Education and Research University, is going to come up. Here, like what is happening now, it could be something like your college or my university, where we just have engineering, okay, but Jane has something like MBA, the business administration, and then the commerce, and then arts, science, everything. And it is just not sufficient. Even medical education, law education, everything comes under the same umbrella in Meru. Model Multidisciplinary Education and Research University is the aim of the higher education. So there are some reforms. So something like graded autonomy, okay, that will be given to the individual institutions in academic, administrative, and financial. As Professor Shashi Shankar was saying, graded autonomy will be the major thing, all right? And then phasing out of affiliation system in the next 15 years, that is by 2035. This is going to happen. And then National Mission on Mentoring and an independent board of governors, okay? So, and then single regulator for higher education. This is where they say HEI. All right. So online self-disclosure based transparent system based on system for approaching the place of inspectors. All right. So common norms for the public and private HEIs will be there. And then private philanthropic partnership, free fixation within the board regulatory framework, and then public investment in education sector to reach 6% of GDP at the earliest. Here, I mean, just like the budget what we used to have for defense, for the education, it is promoted, and it is said that 6% of the GDP should be earmarked in the budget, and it should be given to the education. So which means to say our job opportunities multiply like anything in the new education policy. Okay, there are other forums and the institutes which will be set up. One is the National Research Foundation, NRF, which is not existing today, but that is going to come into existence. And then internationalization of education. Here, professors from various different languages, various different universities, various different countries will be called, and people will participate in molding our education, and then the integration of vocational teacher and professional education is going to happen. So the setting up of new quality higher education institutes has been made easier. There is no red tapeism. Today, if you want to actually have something like the NAC accreditation, it is not very easy, right? So NBA, it is not very easy, right? So you have to, that thing will be made much easier for any colleges to compete and come on their own. And then standalone HEIs and professional education institutions will evolve into multidisciplinary special education zone for disadvantaged regions. Right now, if you don't have many colleges, many universities, maybe in the northeast or deep down in villages in Orissa or deep down in Maharashtra or in Madhya Pradesh, the universities will be encouraged to be opened in those places. And then the National Institute for Pali, Persian, Prakrit, okay, importance is given to even Prakrit, okay, which was during the era of Buddhists and Jainists, right? So many things have been written. The Buddhist literature is in Prakrit. The Jainism literature is in Prakrit. So this institute will actually give much of impetus to Pali and Prakrit. Why Prakrit Pali? Because it was taught in the Nalanda University, and something similar to Nalanda University, Takshashila, should be brought in, is the aim of the National Institute. Okay. And then we have, as I said, Educational Technology Forum, which is very important to us. Okay, for engineers, for technocrats, NETF is very important. And then MHRD will be renamed as Mother of Education. Mother of Education, right? So if you look at the global trends, earlier we used to have only 18 million students who actually went into higher education. That's only globally, if you take, it is only 2%. Only 2% went into engineering, medicine, law, or any other category. And then when you look into global education, out of this 2%, 21% used to move to foreign lands. Okay, they used to actually move to US, or they used to move to any other UK or any other country. And the remaining 35% of students used to be here, and they used to finish their post-graduation and even PhD. And when you take the case of India, China, and South Korea, 40% of people moved to US. Okay, that has been the global trend. So 40% of the people who had higher education, 40% of the people who were already having BE, MBBS, LLB, etc., etc. All right. So out of them, they used to actually move. So again, for all our students, for all of you here, exploring the world for higher education becomes very great. So with this kind of new education policy, national education policy, what we have, you can actually move around the globe. In fact, as engineers, we did have this opportunity. So we did study 4 years of engineering, which actually paved the way, opened the gates for US. People who did their BSc or BCom or BA could not go to US. Why? Because the US education system would insist on 12 plus 4. So only if a MSc, if a person with BSc completes MSc here, he could go to US. If a person with MA, he could go. With a person with MCom, he could go. This was the limitation. But now there is no such thing. So after a person completes, even in commerce, even in arts, it will be a 4-year degree course. A person can straight away move to US. But BA, BCom, BSc, they were all going to UK, because in UK, they had very similar to our system, the British system. They had 12 plus 3. Even to this day in UK, if you want to graduate, if you want to complete your bachelor's, you can do it in 3 years, but not in US. In US, it is 4 years, right? BS is 4 years. Yes, of course, I mean, if you complete the credits very fast, it happened in my son's case, so I know that. So he did finish his engineering within 3 years and 3 months. So there we again have, in some places we have semester, in some places we have trimester, and in some places we also have something called the quadruple system, where in a year they have 4 parts. So this is how it goes in US. So like this, that will creep in here in India as well. Not that all universities will have semester, they may have trimester, they may have quadruple, which is 4. Okay, so like this it happens. So if you want to migrate to US, if you want to go, you have to obviously take the TOEFL examination and also the GRE. So initially, if you just look at it, people who went to US from India, even from 2000 to 2008, the percentage did not change. It remained the same in terms of thousands. Here, the graph shows how many people migrated to the other countries, US. All right. So here, what happened to China? The stipulation was to move into US and other countries, one had to take TOEFL, GRE, GMAT if it was management education, and then we also had something like ELTS, which is again required in Europe and some colleges and some schools in US. So by doing that, the Chinese from 2000 to 2008, you can see that they just moved from 200,000 to something like 600,000. So wherever you go, wherever you see, you would see a lot of Chinese in US. Even if I have visited, like I'm in the US in 2008 when I was taking this session. So I did have, that's the experience what I was saying. So I used to have about 16 Chinese students in that class of 45. So that was something like, I mean, I used to actually teach cybersecurity there in the University of Wyoming. So I have actually personally interacted with all of these 16 students, and I have understood what the culture of Chinese is. So in mathematics, as I said, they are very, very strong. All right. So now if you look into the population there in US, you have so many people who have migrated, and that too, especially they are trained in high educational skills. So that is what is important. Whereas if you look into the other countries, not many people have migrated. It remains very low. It remains very low. All right. So similarly with India, between 2000 and 2008, there was not much of a change. Of course, if you look at it, 2017, 18, okay, a lot of people have gone to US. But again, due to COVID in 1920, that is 2021, obviously the numbers are very low because the embassy is still not open and it is still not giving the visas. Educational visas are still not being given. Yeah. So with the new education policy, what is it that I want to conclude? I started my lecture by quoting from the Upanishads and Taittiriya Brahmanas. So what is education? The highest education was prevailing here in India, right? So we did have the Takshashila University, Nalanda University, and all of them. So we were basically Vishwa Gurus at that point of time. Again, with the new education policy, Dr. Kasturi Rangan and team, they have said that we have to come back to something like Nalanda and Takshashila, not on the same grounds as to what they used to teach then, but even in the modern technology, we need to get into that level. But right away, if you just see, many of our Indian brains, have participated in NASA, have participated in ISRO. Now, ISRO, NASA, you don't find much of a difference. So if you see 30 years back, there was a huge gap between ISRO and NASA, but no more, right? So here, if you just look into the aspect, so it's the same, like Amanna, we have actually raised up to the level of global standards, and then high performance performing Indian universities. Okay, right now, people from Nigeria, people from Kenya, and then people from Sri Lanka, all of them come to our institutes. They're coming here, they're studying. Okay, so people from Iran, Iraq, okay, they're coming here. So now, if we just start adopting the NEP, yes, we are going to internationalization. Okay, we are going to internationalize, and we will move into the era of internationalization. We will become Vishwa Gurus. All right. So that is why, I mean, if you just look into the hands which are going to contribute to NEP, they are different colors. All right. It actually starts from something like the total whites to the Afro Indian or Afro-American population, right? So, I mean, it ranges in all colors and creeds. All of them contribute, and then we should become really great. That's the conclusion. I don't know if I've overshot my time, but yeah, thank you very much. And if there are any questions, I would be happy to take the questions.
Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable, informative webinar. You have touched all the things: NEP, vision, National Educational Technology Forum, major reforms in higher education, Meru, all the things. It was very, very informative, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks, madam.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Sir, now I'm requesting our Sashishankar, sir, to say out of things. There are no much questions because your complete information you have given on NEP 2020, which were not aware of many of the things. We have learned many things from your webinar, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. I'm very happy about it.
Yes, sir. Over to Sashishankar, sir.
That was a very great session by Dr. Shastri. And
Yes, sir.
I think you really touched upon the NETF, which all of us were eagerly awaiting to know about. And of course, the multiple entry and exit, and the 4-year degree course requirement, and of course, the thesis option and the non-thesis option, I think will be a mandatory thing, and the integrated 5-year courses, then the MPhil discontinuation, and of course, teaching intensive universities, and of course, the Meru concept and the graded autonomy is a compulsory thing to come, and a single regulator for higher education, HEI, and of course, from Taittiriya Brahmana and the Takshashila University, Vishwaguru concept, and again, back to internationalization. Are we going from back to front or front to back? I think we have to thank our Honorable Prime Minister for the
Yes,
NEP 20.
Correct, 100%.
Yes, sir. I think this is a very, very great eye-opener, sir, for all our faculty in particular, and heads of the department, and also the students, and we'll take it forward, sir. And of course, it is my duty to thank you, right, for giving such an illustrious explanation of things which all of us should know regarding the NEP 2020. On behalf of our honorable management, Dr. K.R. Paramahamsa, who has always been a harbinger of new knowledge at AMC Engineering College, and of course, our vice chairperson, Dr. Geeta Paramahamsa, and of course, Monica Madam, that is Executive Vice President Rahul Sir, and our honorable principal. So I write what I should say. I'm grateful, thanks to you, sir, for giving such a lucid kind of a lecture. And also, I thank Dr. Venkatlakshmi for making this a very lively session indeed, and all our really I think one great person I should remember today is my close friend, Dr. Hari Prasad, right, who is the director of Jain University. And you believe me or not, is my ex-colleague at RVC, and his intervention has always been great to me. And today, Dr. Chandrasekhar Shastri could be here, sir. So please convey my thanks to him as well. And
Yes.
of course, all my faculty who have been patiently listening to this kind of a discourse, which is very unique. And thank all of you, and thank all the heads of the basic science department as well, and the civil engineering faculty. Thank you very much. And particularly Dr. Gangadhar Reddy sir and Dr. Mini madam, who have been also the pillars of this webinar. Thank you very much, sir. And I just hand over to Dr. Venkatlakshmi, our Dean, for an announcement.
Sir, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Very
sir.
much.
We wish to extend an invitation for you to visit our institution so
Yes,
that
sir.
we can meet in person after all
course,
these
sir.
things gets light.
Yes, sir.
Welcome
I would
to
be
our
happy to meet
institution.
all of you, sir. I would be happy.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, once
Thank-
again.
Yeah.
Last but not the least, I thank Mustaq, sir, for arranging in a short time the Zoom and other things, in making the invitation ready and providing the link and all. Thanks again, once again, to Mustaq also, sir. Thank you, one and
Mustaq.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks once again
Thank you,
to all
Mustaq,
the
sir.
participants who have attended this webinar and make it a grand success. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Dr.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
I'll
sir.
make him. Yeah.
Dr. Venkatlakshmi.